Imagine being thousands of feet in the air when disaster strikes. A helicopter spins out of control as sparks fly from the console. Just as everyone loses hope, a young black boy with no flight experience steps up and takes charge of the controls. What happens next leaves the entire nation in awe. Stay tuned to discover how one brave act changes lives forever. Location: outskirts of Mesa Valley, 6:45 p.m. A government helicopter cuts through the sky on a mission when suddenly the control panel erupts in a shower of sparks. The boy shouts, "We're going down!" Which button will... Who is on board, and why is a young boy piloting the chopper? The sun dips behind the rugged mountains as the helicopter hums through the desert sky. The vast landscape below stretches out in shades of ochre and rust, with cacti casting long shadows in the fading light. Inside the cockpit, FBI agent Cassidy adjusts her headset, focused on the mission ahead. She glances at the dashboard, checking the coordinates, her mind running through the emergency protocols. Next to her, 14-year-old Jaden, dressed in a green flight suit, is fascinated by the complex controls. He's visiting the FBI base as part of a community outreach program, but when a last-minute emergency arises, Cassidy takes him along for the ride, hoping to inspire him. Jaden's eyes widen as he takes in the maze of switches and dials, trying to make sense of the blinking lights. The helicopter vibrates slightly as they cut through a warm gust of wind. Cassidy notices Jaden's curiosity and offers a small smile. Impressive, right? This chopper's built for rescue missions, fast and reliable. Jaden nods, still awestruck. He's always been fascinated by aircraft, and this up-close experience feels surreal. Suddenly, the chopper lurches and a loud pop echoes through the cabin. Jaden's heart skips a beat as the craft shudders. Sparks fly from the console, and the smell of burnt wiring fills the air. Cassidy grips the joystick, trying to maintain control, her jaw set with determination. Jaden instinctively grabs the side handle, his knuckles white. Jaden notices the emergency light blinking rapidly. He points to it, his voice shaky. "Ma'am, is it supposed to do that?" Fear creeps into his tone, but he tries to keep calm, remembering Cassidy's earlier advice about staying focused. Cassidy grimaces. "No, it's not. Someone's tampered with the controls." She quickly scans the panel, looking for any sign of manual interference. Her training kicks in, assessing the situation with a calm precision. Jaden watches her every move, realizing how serious the situation has become. The helicopter dips to the right, and Cassidy corrects it, sweat beading on her forehead. Jaden swallows hard, his mind racing. "Is it going to crash?" he asks quietly. Jaden glances out the window, his stomach churning as the ground seems to rise closer. He wants to ask more questions, but he senses that Cassidy needs to concentrate. Instead, he focuses on his breathing, trying to remember the relaxation techniques his dad taught him when he felt anxious. Cassidy's eyes dart back to the blinking light. She mutters something under her breath and flips a switch to the backup system. For a moment, the chopper stabilizes, and she exhales slowly. Jaden can tell she's running through scenarios in her mind, calculating their next move. The sun sinks lower, casting long shadows across the desert floor. Jaden can just make out a narrow dirt road winding through the landscape. He tries to think like Cassidy, assessing options rather than panicking. "Is there somewhere we can land safely?" he asks. "Where are you watching from, and what time is it?" Jaden lives with his aunt, a mechanic who works at the local airfield. The small apartment they share is filled with aviation posters and model airplanes hanging from the ceiling. Jaden's love for machines comes naturally. given that he's grown up watching his aunt fix engines and troubleshoot technical issues. She's always encouraged his curiosity, teaching him how to handle tools and understand basic mechanics. He's always been curious about flying, but never had the chance to be in the air before today. His aunt often tells him stories about her days as an airfield technician, but being inside a helicopter, especially one used by the FBI, is beyond anything he ever imagined. Cassidy, a highly skilled FBI agent, has seen her share of danger, but never expected to be fighting for her life with a teenager on board. She's led high-risk operations, handled dangerous suspects, and navigated hostile situations. But a mid-air malfunction wasn't on her list of anticipated problems today. She took Jaden along on the ride, thinking it would be a simple demonstration of how the FBI handles transport missions. Instead, it's turned into a fight for survival. The mission involved transporting crucial evidence related to a criminal syndicate. The documents and encrypted drives contain information that could break the case wide open, implicating key members involved in organized crime. Cassidy knew the mission was important, but no one expected sabotage. Unbeknownst to them, someone tampered with the chopper to prevent the evidence from reaching the FBI lab. Cassidy now realizes they've been targeted, and the malfunction is no accident. Jaden's love for machines and quick learning make him the ideal partner when things go wrong. His mind is constantly analyzing, looking for patterns and solutions. While most kids his age focus on sports or video games, Jaden prefers tinkering with old gadgets his aunt brings home from work. Sometimes he even helps her fix minor issues at the airfield, gaining practical skills far beyond his years. But his courage is about to be put to the ultimate test. In the helicopter, Jaden's hands are steady, despite the fear gnawing at his stomach. He watches Cassidy's every move, trying to understand what she's doing to regain control. Part of him wants to panic, but another part, taught by his aunt to think through problems, pushes him to stay focused. Jaden knows that panicking won't help. His aunt always says that keeping a clear head is half the battle. Cassidy's determination inspires him too. Seeing her work the controls, calm but intense, reminds him that they have a chance if they don't give up. His mind races with ideas, if only he could figure out how to help. He recalls the countless times his aunt fixed stubborn engines by tracing the problem back to the source. Maybe the issue isn't as complicated as it seems. As Cassidy tries to stabilize the chopper, Jaden thinks about what could have been tampered with. Wires, fuel line, control system? He doesn't know much about helicopters, but his instincts tell him that whatever broke might still have a manual override. Cassidy, meanwhile, can't help but notice how composed Jaden is, despite the terrifying situation. She's seen adults lose their nerve in less critical moments, but this kid isn't crumbling. It gives her a sliver of hope. They might just make it out of this if they keep working together. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to act fast despite being scared? As the helicopter begins to spiral, Cassidy's hands shake, struggling to manage the malfunctioning controls. The cabin is filled with the acrid smell of burning wires, and thin tendrils of smoke curl around the dashboard. Cassidy's vision blurs, and she fights to stay conscious, gripping the joystick with all her strength. Jaden watches her struggle, fear knotting his stomach. He sees her hands start to slip and realizes that if he doesn't act, they might not make it. He pushes her headset back into place, trying to keep her alert. "We're going down. Which button will—" he shouts, his eyes darting between the switches. Cassidy coughs, her voice weak but determined. She points faintly at the throttle. Stabilize. Angle of descent. Jaden takes a deep breath, forcing himself to focus. He's heard his aunt talk about maintaining balance during mechanical failures, and he knows that keeping the angle steady might prevent a fatal spin. Remembering his aunt's stories about helicopter controls, Jaden pulls the lever marked Manual Override, hoping it gives him some control. His heart pounds as the lever resists, but he pulls harder, hearing a metallic click. The chopper wobbles, but steadies slightly, no longer spinning as wildly. Cassidy's eyes widen, impressed despite the chaos. "Good move, kid. Now reduce speed." Jaden's hands tremble as he pulls another lever to balance the tilt. The helicopter's spin slows, and the ground below stops blurring. Jaden glances at Cassidy, who nods faintly, her grip on the joystick steadying. "Keep it level, just like that," she whispers. The helicopter jerks again, and Jaden braces himself, scanning the control panel for anything that might help. The smoke thickens, and he knows they can't keep breathing it for long. "Air, vent," Cassidy mutters. Jaden spots a switch marked Cabin Airflow and flips it, hoping it will clear some of the smoke. A faint hiss follows, and the air becomes a little less stifling. Jaden's mind races, recalling the way his aunt once explained that even small adjustments can make a difference when steering something heavy. He carefully moves the lever, adjusting the tilt again, trying to mimic how Cassidy had done it earlier. The chopper jerks, but it stays level. Cassidy regains a bit of her strength, guiding Jaden through the steps to maintain their descent. "You're doing great," she says, her voice stronger now. "Just keep it balanced." Jaden nods, forcing himself to ignore the fear gnawing at him. He focuses on the rhythm of the chopper's movements, adjusting whenever it feels off. The ground below gets closer, but at least they're not plummeting. He realizes they might just make it if they can keep the descent controlled. Cassidy leans forward, adjusting the radio with one hand. "Base, this is Agent Cassidy. Manual override engaged. Altitude stabilizing. Requesting emergency landing coordinates." The response crackles through, guiding them toward a flat stretch of desert road a few miles ahead. Jaden follows Cassidy's directions, keeping his movements deliberate and steady. Cassidy glances at him with something like pride. "You kept us from spinning out. That took guts." Jaden doesn't know how to respond, his thoughts still racing. He swallows the lump in his throat and keeps his eyes on the controls, determined to keep them safe. Have you ever had to stay calm when everyone else was panicking? The helicopter makes a hard landing in a dusty clearing, the rotors still spinning as the engine sputters out. The jolt knocks Jaden forward, but he steadies himself, heart pounding. Dust billows up around the chopper, mixing with the lingering smoke from the cabin. Cassidy's head lolls to one side, her breathing shallow but steady. Jaden jumps out, helping Cassidy, who's dazed but alive. He carefully unclips her harness and supports her as she leans against the side of the helicopter. Cassidy blinks, trying to shake off the disorientation, her hand still gripping Jaden's shoulder. "Good job, kid," she mutters, a faint smile on her face. Jaden scans the horizon, eyes squinting against the glare of the setting sun. In the distance, he spots dust trails, vehicles approaching. Relief washes over him as he realizes it must be FBI backup. He waves his arms to signal their position, his pulse finally starting to slow. FBI backup arrives, securing the area. The first SUV skids to a halt, and agents rush out, securing the perimeter before heading toward the chopper. 2 agents kneel next to Cassidy, assessing her condition. One of them, a tall man with a serious expression, looks at Jaden with a mix of confusion and admiration. "You okay, son?" he asks. Jaden nods, still catching his breath. "We had to use the manual override. It was spinning out." He hesitates, unsure if he should have done more or done something differently. Cassidy squeezes his shoulder as if sensing his doubts. "You kept us alive," she says firmly. As medics tend to Cassidy, the chief agent steps forward. He's an older man, his face lined with years of experience. He looks at Jaden, sizing him up. "Son, you just saved one of our own. You kept a level head when most adults would have panicked." Jaden doesn't know how to respond, his mind still processing everything that happened. The chief nods approvingly. "We could use more like you on the team," he says with a chuckle. Jaden can't help but smile, feeling a surge of pride despite his exhaustion. Jaden's aunt arrives, rushing from one of the backup vehicles, her face pale and eyes wide. "Jaden!" she calls, wrapping him in a tight hug. He sinks into her embrace, the reality of what just happened finally sinking in. "You're okay." "I was so worried," she whispers, her voice thick with relief. A few agents murmur about the risk of having a civilian on board. One of them shakes his head, muttering, "Shouldn't have been on the mission in the first place." Another agent, overhearing, raises an eyebrow. "Yeah, but without him, who knows if Cassidy would have made it?" The chief silences the murmurs with a look. Doesn't matter how he got there. The point is, he did something remarkable. That takes guts. Jaden glances at his aunt, worried about how she might feel about the whole situation. She just shakes her head with a proud smile. "You've always been brave, but today, you showed everyone just how much." As the medics finish checking Cassidy, she waves Jaden over. "Hey, hero. You know, not many people would have kept calm the way you did. You should be proud of yourself." Jaden ducks his head, embarrassed but grateful. Jaden watches as the agents secure the evidence, realizing that despite the danger, he made a difference. He's still not sure what will happen next, but he knows one thing for sure. He didn't let fear stop him when it mattered most. Have you ever felt proud of stepping up when it mattered most? The next morning, news outlets cover the story, labeling Jaden as a hero. Headlines read, "Teen saves FBI agent in midair crisis," and "Young hero keeps helicopter from crashing." Reporters gather outside the FBI base, hoping to catch a glimpse of Jaden and hear his side of the story. The news channels replay the footage of the helicopter's rough landing, emphasizing how Jaden's quick thinking saved lives. Jaden's phone buzzes with messages from classmates, teachers, and even people he barely knows. His aunt reads through some of the supportive comments, wiping a tear from her eye. She can't believe how quickly Jaden's story has spread. The FBI chief announces an $800,000 reward for Jaden's bravery, as well as a scholarship to a prestigious aviation academy. At a small ceremony held at the base, the chief addresses the gathered crowd and cameras. Jaden didn't just react. He thought clearly under pressure. That's the kind of spirit we honor here. Jaden steps up to the microphone feeling a bit overwhelmed. He's never spoken to so many people at once. Trying to remember his aunt's advice to speak from the heart, he simply says, "I just did what I thought was right. I couldn't let Agent Cassidy down." The crowd applauds, and Jaden catches sight of his aunt smiling proudly from the front row. After the ceremony, the FBI chief approaches Jaden and his aunt, shaking their hands. "We don't see courage like that every day," he says warmly. "You've got a bright future ahead of you, kid." Jaden's aunt hugs him tight, her eyes filled with tears of pride. "You did it, Jaden. You really did it." She pulls back, holding his shoulders as if to make sure he's really there. "Your mom would be so proud." Jaden's throat tightens, but he manages a smile. "I just did what you always taught me, to help when I can." Cassidy, recovering in the hospital, insists on meeting Jaden again to thank him personally. When he walks into her room, Cassidy is sitting up, her arm bandaged but her smile bright. "Hey, hero," she greets him. Jaden shifts awkwardly, not sure how to respond. Cassidy waves him closer. "You didn't just save me. You saved countless lives. That evidence we were carrying could dismantle an entire criminal network. Without you, it might have been lost forever." Jaden shrugs modestly. "I just didn't want us to crash." Cassidy chuckles, wincing slightly from the pain. "Still, you kept calm when most wouldn't have. That's something special." Jaden's aunt squeezes his hand, whispering, "See? You did more than just survive. You made a difference." After leaving the hospital, Jaden feels a mix of relief and pride. He knows that not everyone would have acted the way he did, but he's grateful that his instincts kicked in when they needed to. Walking home, he thinks about what Cassidy said and realizes that sometimes bravery doesn't feel like a choice. It just happens because it has to. What quality do you think makes someone a hero? Sitting on his porch later that evening, Jaden watches the sunset, still processing the whirlwind of events. The sky is painted in shades of orange and pink, the kind of sunset that usually makes him feel peaceful. But tonight, his mind is still buzzing with everything that happened. His hands rest on his knees, his fingers unconsciously tracing patterns on the worn wood of the porch steps. His aunt sits next to him, her presence comforting and steady. She doesn't say anything at first, just hands him a cold soda and waits. Jaden pops the tab, taking a long sip, trying to find the right words. It feels strange being called a hero when just yesterday he was an ordinary kid fascinated by machines. After a moment, his aunt breaks the silence. "You've always been brave, Jaden. Now the world knows it too." Her voice is soft but firm, the kind of tone she uses when she really wants him to understand something important. Jaden looks at her, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "I didn't feel brave. I just didn't want us to crash." He shrugs, unsure how to explain the way his instincts took over. He didn't plan to be a hero. It just happened. His aunt places a hand on his shoulder. Sometimes being brave isn't about feeling fearless. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when you're scared. That's what makes it real. Jaden leans back against the porch railing, thinking about Cassidy's words at the hospital. She'd said he didn't just save her. He saved countless lives. The weight of that sinks in now, heavier than before. He swallows, trying to process how his quick decisions made such a big difference. The evening air cools down, and crickets start to chirp from the grass. Jaden glances at his aunt. "Do you think Mom would have been proud?" His aunt's eyes glisten, but she nods firmly. "She would have been over the moon. You have her spirit, never backing down when someone needs help." Jaden's smile widens a little. He never really thought about his actions being like his mom's, but hearing it from his aunt makes it feel right. He remembers all the stories about how his mom used to stand up for people, always putting others first. A car drives by, slowing down as the driver waves at Jaden. Word has clearly spread through the neighborhood. He waves back, feeling a little embarrassed, but also a bit proud. His phone buzzes with another message, this one from a classmate saying, "You're amazing, man. Can't believe what you did." Jaden's aunt nudges him gently. "See? People know what you did was special. You didn't just help yourself, you helped someone else survive. That's not something everyone can do." Jaden looks back at the sunset, the colors fading into deeper hues of purple and blue. He realizes he's not just a curious kid anymore. He's someone who made a difference. The thought both scares and excites him. Maybe it's okay to feel proud, even if it feels strange. His aunt pulls him into a side hug, resting her chin on his head. "You've got a good heart, Jaden. That's why you did what you did. Never lose that." Jaden doesn't say anything, but he leans into the hug, feeling more at peace. He knows that no matter what comes next, he won't let fear stop him from doing what's right. Have you ever surprised yourself with your own courage? Jaden's act of courage challenges the community's perception of what young people can achieve. At first, some people are skeptical, wondering how a teenager managed to help land a helicopter. But as more details come out, the community's pride in Jaden grows. His story spreads far beyond his small town, making headlines across the state and even catching the attention of national news outlets. Interviews highlight not just Jaden's bravery, but his quick thinking and calm under pressure. Jaden finds it strange to see his name trending online, with strangers calling him an inspiration. At school, his classmates treat him differently, some with admiration, others with a bit of jealousy. One of his friends teases him, saying, "Didn't know you were secretly an action hero." Jaden just laughs it off, trying to keep things normal. His aunt, however, makes sure he doesn't lose sight of what really matters. "Fame comes and goes, but doing the right thing sticks with you," she reminds him. Jaden nods, knowing she's right. He doesn't want the attention to change who he is. Deep down, he's still just the curious kid who likes fixing things. Cassidy, once fully recovered, reaches out to thank Jaden again, inviting him and his aunt to a small celebration at the FBI base. There, the chief presents Jaden with a certificate of bravery, acknowledging that without his help, the outcome could have been tragic. Cassidy pulls him aside afterward, handing him a small model helicopter as a keepsake. "Never forget what you did up there," she tells him. "You have something special, a calm that not many people have when things go wrong." As life returns to normal, Jaden knows that his life has changed forever. He's determined to use his newfound confidence to make a positive impact. Inspired by the experience, he starts reading more about aviation and emergency procedures, driven by the idea that being prepared can make all the difference. His aunt catches him sketching helicopters and smiles, realizing that this experience has sparked something new in him. One weekend, while helping his aunt at the airfield, a pilot recognizes Jaden from the news and takes a moment to shake his hand. "You did good, kid," the man says, tipping his hat. Jaden feels a mix of pride and humility, knowing that the respect he's earned came from stepping up when it mattered most. When people in the community see Jaden walking down the street, they greet him with smiles and encouragement. One elderly neighbor stops him to say, "You've shown us that bravery doesn't have an age limit." Jaden appreciates the kind words, but he knows that bravery isn't something you plan for. It just happens when you decide not to back down. Jaden doesn't dwell on the title of hero, but he embraces the lessons he learned. He knows that courage doesn't always feel powerful. It often feels like pushing through fear. And now, whenever he faces something daunting, he remembers that day and knows he has what it takes to face challenges head-on. What did you think of Jaden's story of bravery and determination? Share your thoughts below. If you enjoyed this story, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories. See you next time.